Fazoli Show. The news. Here is an illustrated summary of the news happenings at home and abroad. The Mark Fazoli Show.
The basis of this program is fact that all of us, regardless of our beliefs, can do nothing but profit from a free exchange of ideas. Using that yardstick, now to our story.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Brock Wally program. My name is Brock Wally. I am your fearless host. This is the show we sift through all the lies, ladies and gentlemen, the fake news, the nonsense. And let me tell you, it's just wall to wall. I've been paying attention. We're going to run through these stories. I know I've been MIA on this stuff. It's just a sea. It's a sea. It's a festering, needle-filled, medical dump spot, wasteland sea of total nonsense. Look, I just want to remind everybody before we dive into the stories, look, here's the deal. I just want to remind you of this. Do you remember prior to the election? Do you remember what you thought, right? You used to think, man, the left is so powerful. Man, look at the country is so left-wing. Look at all this stuff going on. Look at this crazy sort of sentiment about, dudes with hair going into Target bathrooms and sitting next to little girls and denying your own biological genitalia and just, economic, imbecility, the likes of which we haven't seen since Marx. You used to be like, what? How is this possible? Do you remember that? Do you remember that feeling? Well, what actually ended up happening, and we of course know this now after an election, is that was all fake, fabricated. That was all this orchestrated, fabricated, leftist organization by way of the megaphone. Let's call it the megaphone. It's the media, it's the Hollywood, it's your college professors, your K-12 teacher and textbook. It's the whole nine. That was all just orchestrated to present to you a Potemkin village, if you will. A not true fiction. And again, that's what it is. When you look out and you see all this, it's fiction. It's nonsense. The stories are nonsense. They have no credibility. They should have no credibility, I should say. I mean, I know they're being treated with credibility, but they should have no credibility. I'm talking about all of them. They're all wrong. The polls they cite are fake. The things they tell you other Americans feel, fake. The things they tell you Americans think, fake. The politics they tell you your fellow Americans have, fake. All of it, fake. It's lies. It's all orchestrated lies. I know more about this than you know. But you should know now. But I know how the tsunami can overwhelm you. I know it. You're thinking, really? Protests everywhere? Look, if you actually research this, half, if not more than half of them, are orchestrated, paid endeavors to then turn around and have a story, to plant a seed in your mind, to create a narrative that they can push, to delegitimize. That's all that is. That's all that is. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, and we're gonna get to the ruling by the 9th, circus, but we're gonna dive into some other things up front. Jeff Sessions, by the way, winning. Don't allow the left's hysterics to derail the trade. Winning. This man as Attorney General, this is an astonishing thing for our country. Amazing. A man who actually cares about law. A man who actually cares about justice. It's not going to be a leftist political hack inserting his weird social justice agenda into the law of our land. No, he's going to enforce the law of our land. I met Sessions twice. I think he's an amazing human being. I cannot believe we have such a great man, an amazing man at that position. It just speaks wonders. It really does truly speak wonders of Donald Trump's judgment. It's a huge win. Elizabeth Warren and her, performance art, I can tell you this, the optics of that probably didn't need to happen. But I don't know. I go back and forth. If you listen to the previous podcast, I talked to my buddy. It depends. The strategy moves in my mind hour to hour. And the reason for that is, look, yes, could there be, a less heavy-handed approach? I certainly would love to see a little more civility. I certainly would. And you can trust me when I say that. But it's not going to move the needle. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. Any kind of capitulation? No. I mean, we've realized that it's not the way to approach. Look, Donald Trump won an election going straight scorched earth on these fools. And the fact that he's doing it still, I mean, who am I to argue with it? It might not be my particular color. It might not be my particular flavor. But I got to tell you, I mean, there's proof in the pudding by way of results, aren't there? I mean, I don't know what to say other than that. I mean, she's just, I mean, we know, Elizabeth Warren, you want to be president. We know you want to be 2020. We know all that. So here's your red meat. Here, come get it. Far leftist whack jobs. Here, come get it. Right from the bloody hand of Elizabeth Warren. Here's your red meat. Fine, whatever. Wall Street Journal has a piece on that. Ladies and gentlemen, Henniker has a piece. It's actually quite good. Why the Dems fought to the end to defeat Betsy DeVos. I'll tell you why. Because if they lose blacks in the inner city, they're done. I mean, that's the bullet point. There's a lot of reasons. They don't want school choice, or else their union debacle, money laundering scheme for the Democratic coffers, done. If they can't propagandize children from K through 12, their ideology, done. It doesn't hold any water. It leaks like a sieve if it's tested in any sense, and if it's not in an incubator in the minds of the students, it will crumble like a cheap lawn chair, all of which they clearly know. That's the reason they fought to the bloody knuckles on this one. That's the reason. Look, it's not as though DeVos does not have an Achilles heel. I would prefer, personally, I'm just being intellectually honest, I would prefer her to have a teaching background. I don't particularly like when bureaucrats are making decisions and they have no idea, no connection to the actual practice of that. And I haven't asked you any part-time job you've ever had where some hack at the top is making, disjointed, demands on your mechanics by the way you do your job when they have no idea what it's like to do your job. However, although I feel that way, bear in mind, the Department of Education is a corrupt, calcified hellhole. It has failed our kids on every quantifiable measure, everyone to the letter. It is nothing but hardcore propaganda. They put politics over your children. They put their power over your children. That is proven. Watch documentaries like Waiting for Superman and The Cartel. It lays it out. It investigates it. This has been laid before people's eyes forever. And very, very powerful entities do not care about your children's future. It is a gang. So, with that being said, with that mob that is the Department of Education and Democrat-run public education in this country, do you think, if I asked you, if we're still thinking like a mob, do you think that the mob boss or the made men in that mob are going to do any self-correction? No. Right? You got to send in somebody to bust that up. And this woman's spent her life fighting with her own money, with her own voice, with her influence for school choice, which predominantly helps the very poor and the least of these in this country. What a novel idea. The parents who gave birth to the child get to decide about that child's education. I mean, what a radical idea, says the left. You mean to tell me that we, the state, are not going to have complete control over your children's minds and thoughts? I mean, this is just radical to them. This is unheard of to them. And all you got to do is scratch the surface and you'll know why. It has nothing to do with the kids. They're always talking about the kids. They could care less about the kids. The kids have been drowning in this porta potty that is public education for decades. They've done nothing about it. They have no motivation to do anything about it. Your administrators are getting rich off the trough. Where's the money? If we just spend more money. We spend trillions. That's with a T on public education. You know where it goes? Bureaucrats, unions, corruption. Doesn't go to textbooks, certainly doesn't go to teachers. Look, that mob, and I repeat, mob needs to be broken. Thus, DeVos is a great choice. Again, I'd like to see her have a teaching background. But I think you can make a case, and I think I just did, as to why this is a unique situation. But nonetheless, to be intellectually honest, I think she has weaknesses in that regard. And it's not like the left hardly ever brings that up. She's not a Democrat. She's not all leftist. How dare she? And by the way, the story's out today. They're blocking her car, physically assaulting her. And all of it's justified in their minds, by the way. I'll get to stories on that later here. Jean Ramos, whatever this guy's name is. He's writing for Fusion. He's the guy who was on Telemundo. I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but he debated Ann Coulter on immigration in America, and Ann Coulter just laid waste to this fool. Anyway, I don't even recognize this country anymore, he says. I don't even recognize it. I mean, they're trying to enforce their borders. Can you believe this? And this country used to have a porous border like a sponge. That's America. Having any kind of culture or having any kind of language or having any kind of border, that's for other countries that are sane with patriotic leaders. America's run by leftist Marxists who spend half their time lecturing the American people on how much they suck. That's the America Ramos likes. Well, buckle in, buddy. Buckle in, Ramos. Never was America. Never was. It was hijacked. The president of Bard College. We must stand up to the president. This is a true statement. I'm not making this up. We must stand up to the president at the university, since colleges are nonpartisan institutions that are only interested in truth. Wait, it's not done. And the free exchange of ideas. The level of delusion. I mean, because, there's two choices here. The guy's talking total nonsense, likes to hear his lips flap, maybe. But I've talked to some of these academics. They think they're not biased. I mean, it's just amazing. Or they just know that the second they admit that, the gig is up. I don't know which one it is. But this level of delusion that the university is not partisan, that the university is a free exchange of ideas. You just burnt the place down because a conservative wanted to speak there at Berkeley. I mean, these people are just out to lunch in every respect. They live in the land of their own minds. All right, finally, the Ninth Circuit. Look, immigration restrictions, security threats. Look, I've read this. I'm not a lawyer. You should know that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert on this at all. But I've read it, tried to do my due diligence, so I know something about what I'm talking about. And all I'll say is it didn't appear to me that any of the things discussed in that broadcast between those three judges had anything to do with what was written in this mandate, in this law. By the way, it was 3 weeks or something like that. And it appears to me that the president has every right to do this. Now there was talk of what Trump said in the campaign and so on and so forth. What does that have to do with anything? That should have nothing to do with anything. It was clearly political to anybody intellectually honest. It was just political. And I expect more of this. I don't know what it's just a travesty of judicial overreach by anybody with intellectual honesty. No good basis for the decision by way of law. And of course, they are judges in a court, in a legal system that needs to look at law, not their own partisan hackery, and not the fact they don't like the president. Unbelievable. By the way, guys, just to give you an idea of what the university is actually like, UC Berkeley, their student papers, there was 5 op-eds about the riots, every single one of them defending the violence. One of them, quote, Milo is hateful, so violence is justified. That's an actual quote. The other one, the university was not going to stop this fascist, so we had to. Violence is justified. I'll try to get them on my Facebook page in case you want to read them. The university are festering. You got the punch the Nazi. Now you can burn your campus down if you just say a guy's a fascist. He's a fascist. Why? How come he's a fascist? I said he's a fascist. Oh, why are you punching him in the face? Did you not hear me? He's a fascist. I just told you he's a fascist. Yeah, but what has he done that's fascistic? I just told you. Punch them. Violence. Throw that brick through the window. Let's set a fire. MSNBC, CBS, NBC, PBS, NPR, all of them will defend it. Why? Leftism means not having to say you're sorry. Leftism means not having to obey the law. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, in case you need a good belly laugh, Los Angeles mayor pledges that he will personally lower the temperature of the city. He's going to personally change the climate. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's not hyperbole and it's not attack. These people are actually insane. Actually. Red in the face lunatics. Now, look, the political tide has changed. We have a lot of power. The ideas that I share, that you share, have a lot of power in this country. But the left, it's not as though they're going to abide the law. It's not as though they're going to stop the shenanigans. You need to fight. And how you do that is take the truth and just open your mouth boldly. Now more than ever, you should feel that freedom to do so. Be brave, be courageous. Thank you for listening.
Democrats will regret the power grab.